All right, what's up, everybody? So today's video is going to be a review, second half of the review of my UV-5X. But before I get too far into the video, I wanted to make sure I thank everybody for watching the last video. I felt like the video was pretty well received. I mean, I got a lot of nice comments, a lot of questions. And as a newcomer, my knowledge is basic. So it was kind of weird having people ask me questions of stuff that's still really still very new to me. So I want to thank everybody for the nice comments and for the video being well received. Also, I'm going to be showing a new purchase. That's not what this video is about, but I wanted to kind of show it off for a second. So the first thing I want to talk about is I decided to make this video a little sooner than what I thought I was going to do, because I'm getting a lot of questions in the comments about these 701G antennas. And I actually responded to a few people, but it's kind of hard to explain without writing a whole paragraph. And before somebody else asked me the same question, I just want to get the second video out right away and get right on these antennas here. Now, in the last video, I mentioned I was going to be going to my brother's house. He lives all the way up in Lansford, Pennsylvania. Lansford's about 33 miles from my house. And so he's about 21 miles from Slatington, the Blue Mountain repeater. I'm about 12 miles. So his house is a little further away from the repeater than it is mine. But the repeater's supposed to reach 35 miles. So I wanted to test it out. He has a lot of mountains, a lot of mountain ranges. He lives, I believe, above the Blue Mountain range. So I knew I could get the repeater, but there's a lot of trees and other mountains in the way. So I got to his house with the Nagoya 701g antenna on my UV-5X, and I could see the lights blinking like there was something going on with that repeater. I was able to connect to it when I hit the button, but I wasn't hearing any feedback from anybody. I wasn't hearing anything. I could see the lights flickering like something was going on, but I couldn't hear anything. So I decided to take the 701G off and slap on the stock antenna, and what do you know, I can hear everything. I also want to mention that while we were doing these tests, we had to do the test outside the house. Inside the house, I could not get the repeater. I don't know if it was because of the storm or what was going on, but we had to do the test outside, and it was raining, so I couldn't get the repeater from any of the antennas from inside the house. So when I bought these antennas, it was supposed to be an upgrade recommended by some people on the GMRS group on Facebook, who pretty much said anything is an upgrade to the stock antenna. So I guess the stock antenna has a bad reputation for being bad, I guess, on the UV-5R. I'm not sure if there's any difference in this one here. I know it has a screw in here, which I want to talk about this screw. Okay, so this antenna here, like a lot of you guys probably already know, it's got a screw in there to keep it fixed. For legal reasons, I guess, for either MERS or FRS. But for GMRS, it can be removed. As you notice, my screw is not in there. And I caught this right away when I took this antenna off. And I want to kind of show you guys, in case you haven't noticed it, or in case you haven't taken it off yet, and you will take it off at some point. You see the threads on here? Now, if you turn this radio to the side, you can see on this side of the radio, the threads are just a little bit chewed up right there. You see that? Those threads are kind of chewed up. And that's from that screw. That's from the screw inside the antenna. So if you plan on taking this antenna off and putting it back on and keeping it legal for the FRS or the MERS or whatever it is, you might have some problems later on screwing that screw in and out so many times. You're going to damage the threads on this thing, and it will have to get replaced soon, because at some point you won't be able to screw this thing down anymore. Now, for someone like me who doesn't really care about that, I took it off, I put this back on, and I don't bother putting the screw back in ever again, because I plan on using another antenna. And so that brings me into the other antenna. Now, I purchased the Nagoya 771g. Now, when I bought this antenna, I bought it for the UV-9G, and with advice from customer service at Radiodity, they pretty much told me I needed a male connector. And so I bought the male connector. And of course, the UV-9G is not a male connector, it's a female connector. It's a female connector. So it was the wrong antenna, which I was pretty bummed out about that. But it fits the UV-5X. So I decided to give it a try. And like I said, with this antenna, I wasn't getting any reception at all. With the Nagoya na-701g, no reception at all from that repeater, from that distance. Now I was 21 miles from the repeater, but the stock antenna was able to cut through the mix, and I was able to hear everybody like normal. But they told me I was a little bit, staticky here and there. It wasn't perfect. But when I stuck on the 771g, now it's coming in a whole lot clearer. So in my personal opinion, for talking on repeaters, I would say for an upgrade antenna for this radio, I would not go with the 701g. If I could, I would return them. Now, one thing I will say about the 701g is that when I plugged this in here in the house, compared to the stock antenna, I was able to get FM radio stations a little better with this for some reason. I don't know. I have no idea. Me personally, at this point, this is the upgrade, 771g. I'm gonna buy a second one for the other 5X that I have. I'm also gonna buy a third for the UV-9G. Now, there is some things about the UV-9G. This video is not about this, but since I'm bringing up the antenna, that the antenna doesn't fit the UV-9G properly, but there are some ways you can modify it to get it to fit. So I am going to buy the antenna just so I can have it until there's a reliable video out there that shows me how to modify it correctly to get it to fit that radio. So pretty much all my radios are going to have this as the upgrade, the 771g. But for normal everyday use, I will be using the stock antenna, because in my area I can get all the repeaters pretty good. I don't have a reason to keep the big antenna on. I feel more comfortable keeping on the stock antenna with this radio. I live in between two mountains. I have the Blue Mountain on one side, I have the South Mountain on the other side. So pretty much I live in Center City, Allentown. I live in the Lehigh Valley. So even with the biggest antenna, I can't really get out of the valley unless I get up on top of the mountain. I don't spend my time on the mountain. So it is what it is. These radios will primarily be used with the stock antennas. So that's pretty much my experience with that. This is a part 2 video. I don't have a whole lot as far as like range tests and stuff like that. I do want to talk about one thing though. I am talking a little more on the radio with people. Like I said in my last video, I don't get a joy out of talking to people every day and saying, hey, how do I sound today? Blah, 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 blah. That doesn't really excite me that much, but it is nice to talk to somebody at some point, because when you buy these, you buy them to talk with people. And not everybody in my family is talking on these things, so I just, every now and then I reach out and talk to the guys who are talking on this repeater. When I was in my brother's yesterday, I had the opportunity to hear more people coming in. There was guys coming in from Delaware. There was guys coming in from New Jersey. So when you're up there, that Blue Mountain's pretty high. So people with pretty powerful radios from a distance, if they're up high enough, they could definitely reach that. And every now and then you will hear some people coming in. So it is nice to sit back and listen. Also, what I've been doing is I've been programming some ham frequencies in here. I don't talk on ham. I can't transmit on ham. But at some point, I may. I'm not saying I'm going to do this. I'm not trying to start a collection here of radios. But at some point, I may get a UV-5R or maybe a UV-10R, something with a little more power, and have all those ham frequencies in to have as something for emergency situations in case I do need to transmit. It would be nice to have that to add to the collection. And when I say emergencies, I'm talking about emergencies like, Hurricane Sandy, something, a disaster, I like to have something with a reliable communication that I can transmit on those bands if I need to. So what I've been doing is I just kind of did a search on Chirp of ham repeaters up to 50 miles away. Load them in, listen, I'm writing down all the ones that have the most activity, and that's how I'm going to be able to, you know, figure out what I want to keep inside this radio, because I do want to be able to listen to as much as I can, but I don't want to have so many different, you know, ham frequencies in there and police and fire frequencies from everywhere that when I'm scanning, it's going to take a minute to scan through everything. You might miss something. So basically what I want to do is I want to be able to scan the GMRS channels. I want to be able to scan the GMRS repeater channels and a few extra channels in there just to kind of hear what's going on. Not too much, but just a little something extra to hear what's going on. And that's pretty much it. I'm pretty happy with the radios. Even though I got the new radio that just came out, I don't feel like this is a replacement for these radios. I like this radio very much. They're small, they're compact. They work in my area. They work for what I need. I don't need something more powerful. If I want something more powerful someday, I'd rather get something set up permanent here inside the house. Maybe not permanent, but something I can set up here in the house with an antenna attached to the roof, you know, and be able to take the radio and put it in my car if I have to, and keep these just for small communications. So my overall feeling about these radios is I like them. I like them a lot. I found myself being more comfortable with the stock software that comes with it. I'm not sure what it's called, but I kind of like it better. It's a little easier to, I shouldn't say it's easier to use. It's easier for me to use, to navigate through. Well, I do want to talk about something else. I don't know if it's just these radios or if it's all GMRS radios, but I don't like the fact that I have to plug this in to the computer and use the software to add or take away channels from the scan list. You know, because when I'm scanning through channels, there's definitely some channels I don't want to scan. I don't need to scan, like police, like some of the police channels in the area. You know, they're going all the time. Sometimes I just don't want to hear the police, but sometimes I do. And if I want to hear them, I would like to go into the menu here and just click, you know, on for the scan list, for the scan mode on that particular channel. I wish I can add and take away like the NOAA channels. You know, there's only really one NOAA channel in my area that works, and it transmits constantly. So if I ever want to hear channel 2, I can just go in there and go to channel 2 and listen if I want to hear the weather. But I don't want to hear it all the time in rotation on my scan list. So I don't like the fact that I have to go back and forth to the computer to add it and take it off. It's just, that's my overall view of these radios. I'm really liking being able to talk on repeaters. I think it's pretty neat, especially since it costs $70 for the license. Don't need a test. I see why it's growing in popularity. But I want to give you guys my thoughts on the UV-5X again, and on the Nagoya 701Gs. I hope that helps. I'm new to this, so the advice I'm giving is only based on my experience. I could be wrong. Maybe these could be great for these radios in other frequencies, but they're supposed to be tuned in for GMRS, and didn't work for me. So there you go. Thanks for watching, and see you guys next time.